Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I want to follow on through the series that I've been doing, which is lessons that I've learned. I feel like you guys have really been enjoying these. I've talked about debt, spending, learning about money in my 20s. And in today's video, I decided to do one on investing. And I want to talk about 3 lessons I learned from investing as a total beginner. And I think this will be useful, especially because, you know, many of us are going to be thinking about investing our money and actually making our money work for us. And I want to talk about 3 lessons that I've learned because I've been investing for almost 4 years now. So I've definitely had some lessons. I've definitely made some mistakes. And so I want to share that in this video. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first lesson I want to share is that the basics still works. It is okay if you just want to stick with the basics. Now, what I mean by this is, guys, when it comes to social media, there is so much out there, and I feel like it just makes it much more difficult to understand, okay, where should I be putting my money? But what I realized in the 4 years that I've been investing is that the basics still works. In that I mean, I have been looking at what has worked in the past and what do I think still works. What are things that people are investing in that has proven to work before and therefore is likely to work again? So what I've been focusing on, for example, is investing through the stock market, because I know that many people have invested through the stock market before and it has worked, and I believe that it will continue to work. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to stick with investing through the stock market. The same thing could be with property. So in the future, I want to start investing in property. The reason why I want to do that is because I know that it is tried and tested. So I know that it works. So I say this to say that when you are on social media and there are so many different investing things that you can do, sometimes just going back to the basics will work. And even when it comes to investing through the stock market, there are so many different strategies that you can use. But again, I just go back to the basics. For me, I want to invest in things that I know in the long term are going to work well for me. So that's really what I've learned in the past 4 years that I've been investing through the stock market. It's really just knowing that the basics work, and that's okay. That's what I teach my clients to do as well, because honestly, who has time to be dealing with complicated things? Let's be honest, our lives are already complicated, so why make investing complicated? Let's just stick with the basics. Let's understand, okay, this is how the stock market works, or this is how real estate works, and let's just do our research on that and then start investing. Did you also know that I have a new weekly series where I send out emails talking all things about saving and investing your money too? So if you want to join and get exclusive weekly emails from me, make sure you join us. The link will be in the description below for you, and I can't wait to see you in your emails. Okay, so the second lesson I want to talk about is that saving will help you to become a confident investor. Now, you guys will know that I am the biggest advocate for saving, because not only can saving help you when it comes to, of course, saving money, but it can also help you when it comes to investing. And the reason why I say this is because for many of us, the reason why we're scared to invest is because we're scared that we're going to lose money. And I will say many times the reason why people lose money is because with investments, they can go up and down, right? It's not always going to go up all the time. Sometimes your investments may go down and then it may go up again. It's kind of like a little bit of a roller coaster where just things can change. Like the market can be very volatile sometimes. And that's not something to be scared of if you have savings. So the problem that many people have is that they lose money because they end up having to sell their investments when their investments are down. And for many people, the reason why they have to sell their investments is because they don't have savings. So let me give you an example. During the pandemic, obviously, there was a lot of things going on. The market was crazy. Everywhere was crazy, if we're trying to be honest. And typically what happened was people had investments, but they didn't have savings. And then when something happened to their income, so for example, maybe they got furloughed, maybe they lost their job, because they didn't have any savings, to help them with an emergency, they ended up having to sell their investments instead. But the problem was at that time, of course, everyone's investments had gone down because no one knew what was going on. And so that's what I mean by saving will help you to become a confident investor, because when I have savings, I don't really care what my investments are doing because I don't need that money right now. If I need money right now, I'll just go into my savings account and take that money. So if you're someone who is scared about losing money, just know that many people lose money because they end up having to sell at a loss. And for many people, the reason why they do that is because they don't have savings in the first place. So when you have savings, when you can save money, that will help you to become a confident investor. Now, the third lesson that I want to share when it comes to investing as a beginner is that the earlier you start, the more mistakes you can afford to make. So what I mean by this is, I think many of us try to put off investing because we're like, oh, I don't know too much about investing. I don't really want to make any mistakes, so I would rather do it later on. But the problem is that the longer that you leave it, you don't get to take advantage of actually making those mistakes and learning from those mistakes. Because if you start to leave it later and you still end up making mistakes, because you probably will, it's going to be more costly. So that's why I say the earlier you start with investing, the more you can afford to make mistakes. So I'll give myself as an example. When I started learning about investing, there was this one company that I had been eyeing and people had been talking about it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of research. I did a decent amount of research, but I wasn't actually eyeing the company very much. And so I had invested in the company and I thought it was a great company. I was like, well, they have a lot of money, they don't really have a lot of debt, this is going to be a great investment. And then a few months later, that investment tanked. Essentially, it tanked. And then I took that as a learning where I told myself, okay, do you know what? When it comes to investing, I am again going to go back to the basics. I'm going to start investing in something called funds, where you invest in multiple different companies so that I don't have to rely on just one company. And if I do invest in individual companies, it's really going to be strong companies where, again, I don't mind if anything goes wrong, and potentially if the company goes bankrupt, I really don't care, because most of my money isn't going to be going towards that type of investment. But I was so thankful this happened a few years ago, whilst I was still in my mid-20s, for example, because I knew that had I invested a lot more money, had I been investing thousands and thousands and thousands because I'm trying to catch up, for my retirement, and made that same mistake, that would have cost me a lot of money. So what I'm saying is that the earlier you start, because the earlier you start, typically you probably won't be investing that much money anyway, you can then afford to make those mistakes. So now, because I know, okay, I'm going back to the basics, I'm sticking with the basics, I can then invest a lot more money and know that the basics will work. But I'm so glad that I took those risks earlier, because number one, I didn't invest as much money then, but also number two, I could afford to make that mistake because I don't have like huge responsibilities and things like that. So I could really afford to take those risks and make that mistake. So if you're someone who has maybe been delaying investing because you're scared to make a mistake, I would say actually that now is the time that you want to be able to make mistakes. If we're being honest, now is the best time for you to do it, because the longer you leave it, the more money you probably will have to invest, and then you cannot afford to make as many mistakes. Whereas if you start now, you can then start small, make your mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and then go from there. So those are my 3 lessons. If you are someone who wants more support when it comes to investing, this is exactly what I do in one-on-one coaching. So I teach my clients how to, of course, save money, but I also teach them how to actually save that money and then also invest that money through the stock market as well. So if you are someone who is a total beginner, you've never invested before, but you really want to start making your money work for you, definitely make sure you book a call with me to learn more about one-on-one coaching. I don't give financial advice. I don't need to. All I do is educate my clients. They stick with the basics, and then they literally just pick out their own investments and they have their investment portfolios, and then they start starting to now generate wealth. So definitely make sure you book a call with me to find out more. The link will be up here for you and in the description below. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, have you actually started investing yet? And if you haven't, what do you think is stopping you from investing? I do post every Sunday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week.